The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the sodium lamps like veins of forgotten promises, and Jace Harlan knew tonight would shatter whatever fragile piece he'd stitched together in the 2 years since his brother's overdose. He slipped the silver locket from his pocket, its chain cool against his palm, and pressed it to his lips for luck before tucking it back into the hidden seam of his messenger bag, the one item he never let out of his sight. But as the elevator doors hissed open to the penthouse floor of Harrington Tower, where Alexander Voss reigned over his tech empire like a ghost in a three-piece suit, Jace felt the weight of eyes already on him, accusing, unyielding, the kind that stripped you bare before you could even speak. Jace had always believed in second chances, the kind that came wrapped in the grit of survival, but nothing prepared him for the moment Alex Voss's hand clamped down on his shoulder in the sterile glow of the executive washroom, the accusation hanging in the air like exhaust fumes. "Empty your bag," Alex said, his voice a low rumble that echoed off the marble tiles, not a request but a verdict, and Jace's heart slammed against his ribs as he realized the locket, his only tether to a love he'd buried young and deep, might be the key to a door he never meant to unlock. In that instant, as fingers trembled toward the zipper, Jace saw not just the millionaire's fury but a flicker of something raw, a loneliness that mirrored his own, and he wondered if fate was cruel enough to bind them through theft and loss. The boardroom on the 47th floor smelled of polished oak and stale ambition, the kind that clung to the air like cigarette smoke in a dive bar. Jace stood there, bag clutched to his chest, surrounded by suits that cost more than his monthly rent in Capitol Hill. Alex Voss loomed at the head of the table, his broad shoulders straining against a charcoal wool blazer, salt and pepper hair cropped close, eyes like storm clouds over Puget Sound, gray and unrelenting. At 42, Alex was the wunderkind who turned Voss Dynamics into a billion-dollar beast, algorithms that predicted market crashes before they happened. But tonight, those same predictive powers zeroed in on Jace, the night shift coder who'd been with the company 6 months, scraping by on freelance gigs and the faint hope of a promotion that never came. "You're short on rent again, aren't you, Harlan?" Alex's executive assistant, a wiry woman named Lydia with a bob of steel-gray hair, had whispered it to him weeks ago over lukewarm coffee in the break room, her eyes sympathetic but her words laced with warning. Jace had nodded, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes, because what else could he say? His apartment in the shadow of the Space Needle was a shoebox with peeling wallpaper and a view of alley dumpsters. Rent hiked again by landlords chasing the tech boom's ghost. He'd pawned his watch last month, then his leather jacket from high school, but the locket, that was non-negotiable. It had been his mother's, passed to him on her deathbed when he was 19, whispering, "For the one who sees you really sees you," before the cancer one. Inside, a faded photo of two boys, arms slung around each other at a county fair in rural Oregon, grins wide and innocent. One was Jace at 16. The other, his first love, Tommy, gone now to a life straight as the Columbia River, married with kids in Boise. But the locket held more than memory. It held the ache of being unseen, of loving in silence. Security had pulled the footage that afternoon. A glitch in the server room, code rewritten overnight, siphoning microtransactions from client accounts, pennies adding up to thousands. The trail led back to Jace's login, or so the logs said. He hadn't done it, God, he wouldn't. But explaining that meant unraveling threads he kept tightly wound. Late nights hunched over his laptop in the dim glow of his studio, debugging lines while nursing a beer, his mind wandering to the what-ifs of a life less solitary. Seattle was supposed to be a fresh start after Portland's rainy heartbreaks, where he'd come out at 21 to a family that nodded politely then faded away. His brother, Riley, had been the only anchor, until the pills and the needles dragged him under 2 years back. Jace had scattered the ashes in the Willamette, whispering promises to live better, but better meant surviving, and survival sometimes blurred the lines. "Open it," Alex repeated, his voice cutting through the hum of the AC vents. The room held its breath. Lydia by the door, 2 guards in ill-fitting polos, and Marcus Hale, Alex's right-hand man, a bulldog of a lawyer with a perpetual scowl. Jace's fingers fumbled the zipper, the bag spilling contents onto the table. Crumpled receipts from Pike Place Market, a dog-eared copy of Auden's poems, a half-eaten granola bar, and there, Tumbling free like a confession, the locket. It skittered across the glass surface, chain uncoiling, catching the light from the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Alex's hand shot out, snatching it before it fell, his face draining of color as he flipped it open. The room went still. Jace watched Alex's thumb trace the photo's edge, the millionaire's breath hitching in a way that spoke of ghosts long buried. "Where did you get this?" Alex's voice cracked, barely above a whisper, and in his eyes, those storm-gray depths. Jace saw not anger, but a chasm of grief, the kind that swallowed men whole. The locket wasn't just a trinket. It was Elena's, Alex's wife, vanished 3 years ago on a hiking trail in the Olympics. Her backpack found shredded by bears. No body, no closure. Inside, she'd tucked that very photo, a gift from her college days backpacking through the Northwest, 2 boys she'd photographed on a whim, their joy a snapshot of freedom she'd envied. Elena had worn it daily, a talisman against the isolation of marrying into wealth. And now, in the hands of a suspected thief, it mocked Alex's endless searches, the private eyes, the therapy sessions that ended in numb silence. Jace's stomach twisted. He'd found it 6 months back, glinting in the mud of a trail near Discovery Park, during one of his solo runs to outpace the loneliness. No name, no note, just the locket, and he'd claimed it like a sign, polishing it on his sleeve before slipping it into his bag's lining. I found it," he stammered, heat rising in his cheeks. "On a hike. Thought it was lost property. I was going to turn it in, I swear." Lies layered on half-truths, but the theft accusation hung heavier, the code glitch a frame job he couldn't yet prove. Marcus leaned in, snatching the locket from Alex, but Alex yanked it back, closing his fist around it like a lifeline. "Get out," Alex said to the room, his tone brooking no argument. Lydia and the guards filed out, Marcus lingering with a glare that promised lawsuits. The door clicked shut, leaving Jace alone with the man whose empire could crush him, yet whose gaze now held a vulnerability that made Jace's chest ache. "Sit," Alex commanded, sinking into his chair, the locket still clutched tight. Jace obeyed, perching on the edge of a leather seat that felt like judgment. Rain lashed the windows, blurring the city lights into halos of regret. "Tell me everything," Alex said, and for the first time that night, it wasn't an interrogation, it was a plea. Jace swallowed, the words tumbling out. The run, the glint in the dirt, the way the locket fit like it belonged in his palm. He skipped the photo's story, the boys who looked like echoes of his youth, but Alex's eyes narrowed, as if sensing the omissions. "And the code? The money?" Alex pressed, leaning forward, the scent of his cologne, cedar and salt, wafting across the table, grounding in its earthiness. "I didn't do it," Jace insisted, meeting those eyes, finding flecks of blue in the gray, like hidden coves. "Someone's setting me up. Check the timestamps. They don't align with my shifts." Alex studied him, the silence stretching, broken only by the distant wail of a fairy horn. Finally, he slid the locket back across the table. "Keep it. For now." It wasn't absolution, but it was a thread, fragile as spider silk. As Jace gathered his things, bag heavier with unspoken questions, Alex added, "Don't leave town, Harlan. We're not done." The elevator descent felt like freefall, Jace's pulse thundering. Outside, the drizzle soaked his shirt, but he didn't care, hailing a cab to his apartment, the locket burning a hole in his pocket. He didn't know then that Elena's disappearance had cracked Alex Voss wide open, turning a man of steel into one who chased shadows, or that the photo inside held secrets tying back to Jace's own fractured past. But as he unlocked his door to the faint meow of his tabby cat, Milo, curling around his ankles, Jace felt the pull of something inevitable. A collision of worlds, where theft and loss might forge something real, if only they survived the storm. Back in the penthouse, Alex poured a Scotch neat, the amber liquid swirling like memories he couldn't drown. Elena's laugh echoed in his mind, her hand slipping the locket around her neck on their wedding day in Napa, vines heavy with summer promise. She'd been his anchor, the artist to his algorithm, until the trail in the Olympics claimed her, leaving him with a void that no board meeting could fill. Gay in his youth, closeted by family expectations, Alex had married Elena for the facade, their bond deep but platonic, a shared rebellion against the world's gaze. Her vanishing had unearthed old longings, ones he'd buried under success, but tonight, in Jace's hazel eyes that mirrored the photo's boys, he saw a spark, dangerous and alive. Sleep evaded him, the city humming below like a restless heart. By dawn, he'd pulled the security logs himself, fingers flying over keys, tracing anomalies that pointed not to Jace, but to Marcus, the loyal lieutenant with gambling debts and a penthouse envy. Betrayal simmered, but so did curiosity, a pull toward the coder who'd stumbled into his grief like a key turning in a rusted lock. Alex Voss didn't believe in fate, only data points, but as the sun crested over the Cascades, painting the bay gold, he wondered if this thieving employee's bag had handed him more than a keepsake. It had handed him a chance to feel again. Jace woke to the insistent buzz of his phone. The screen cracked like his resolve, displaying an unknown number with a 206 area code. He ignored it, rolling over to bury his face in the pillow that smelled of yesterday's takeout and Milo's fur, the cats purring a small mercy against the night's residue. But the call came again, then a text. Harlan, my office. 9 a.m. Evie. Jace's stomach nodded. Alex Voss didn't text underlings, not unless it was termination papers. He dragged himself up, splashing water on his face in the bathroom mirror, where hollow cheeks stared back, a reminder of skipped meals and sleepless codings. The locket lay on the sink, open to the photo, Tommy's smile a ghost that twisted the knife of what-ifs. Jace snapped it shut, chaining it around his neck, hidden under his shirt like a secret vow. The bus ride to Harrington Tower was a blur of damp coats and weary faces. Seattle's morning commute a symphony of muffled podcasts and espresso sighs. Jace arrived early, the lobby's glass atrium alive with suited commuters, the scent of fresh blooms from the florist cart cutting through the chill. He rode up alone, the elevator's mirrored walls reflecting a man on the edge, hair tousled from the wind, eyes shadowed but sharp. The 47th floor was quieter now, sunlight slanting through blinds like accusatory fingers. Lydia greeted him with a nod, her lipstick a slash of crimson. He's expecting you, before vanishing into a side office. Alex's domain was less boardroom intimidation, more sanctuary. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves groaning under first editions, a massive desk of reclaimed driftwood from the sound, and a window wall framing the Olympics' jagged silhouette. Alex stood there, back to the door, phone pressed to his ear, his voice a clipped baritone negotiating a merger with Tokyo. He ended the call with a decisive done, turning as Jace entered, gesturing to a leather armchair opposite his desk. No suits today. Alex wore a simple Henley in slate gray, sleeves pushed up to reveal forearms corded with quiet strength, the fabric hugging a frame kept lean by dawn runs along the waterfront. Coffee? Alex asked, pouring from a French press without waiting for an answer, the steam curling like unspoken tensions. Jace accepted the mug, black and scalding, wrapping his hands around it for warmth. About last night, Alex began, settling into his chair, his locket now, apparently, dangling from a chain around his own neck, tucked into his collar. Jace's breath caught. It looked right there, against the hollow of Alex's throat, a vulnerability the tabloids would devour. The logs check out. It wasn't you. Relief flooded Jace, hot and dizzying, but it ebbed quick, chased by suspicion. Then why the bag check? The guards. Alex's gaze dropped to his mug, lashes casting shadows. Protocol. And I needed to see it up close. He touched the locket absently, fingers lingering. Elena wore this every day. It was her talisman. Said it reminded her of simple joys before the world got complicated. His voice softened, edges fraying. She vanished on a trail much like the one you found it on. No trace, just gone. Jace shifted, the chair creaking under him. He knew loss, the raw scrape of it when Riley's call came from the ER, the silence after. I'm sorry, he said, meaning it, the words bridging the chasm between them. Alex met his eyes, holding them, and in that gaze, Jace felt seen, not as the broke coder or the suspected thief, but as a man carrying his own invisible weights. "Tell me about the photo," Alex said suddenly, leaning forward. Jace hesitated, the memory bubbling up like bile. "It's me, and my friend Tommy. Summer before senior year at the Yamhill County Fair." Elena must have snapped it. She was there volunteering at the photo booth, handing out Polaroids for donations. Alex's brow furrowed, piecing it. She studied photography at Reed, backpacked every summer. Said it kept her grounded. A pause heavy with what-ifs. "You were what, 16? Looks like freedom in that shot." Jace nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, before everything got real." Coming out to Tommy under the Ferris wheel's glow. The kiss that tasted of cotton candy and terror. The rejection that followed when Tommy chose the easy path. Alex didn't press, but his silence invited more. A space where confessions could breathe. The conversation veered to the glitch, Alex pulling up code on his monitor, lines scrolling like veins. "Marcus," he said flatly, highlighting timestamps. "He's been cooking books for months, funneling to offshore accounts. Wife left him last year. Debts piled up." Betrayal laced the words, Alex's jaw tightening. "I trusted him, built this with him." Jace watched the play of emotions. Fury, sorrow, the quiet unraveling of a man who'd armored himself too long. "What now?" Jace asked, bold in the moment. Alex's eyes flicked up, appraising. "I confront him, quietly. And you? I need someone I can trust to audit the rest. Off the books." It was a lifeline, a promotion wrapped in risk, but Jace saw the undercurrent. Alex needed an ally, someone untainted. "Why me?" he asked, voice steady. Alex's smile was ghost-thin. "Because you found her light in the dirt, and maybe you see through the noise." The words hung, charged, and Jace felt the air thicken, a current humming between them, unspoken but electric. Gay undercurrents in a straight world. Alex's history whispered in society pages. Elena the perfect cover. But Jace sensed the truth in the way Alex's gaze lingered, tracing his jaw, his hands. They worked side by side that morning, screens synced, coffee refills punctuating the rhythm. Jace's fingers danced over keys, unraveling Marcus's sloppy hacks, while Alex paced, dictating notes into his phone. Laughter slipped in unexpectedly. Jace quipping about a buggy loop like a bad blind date, Alex chuckling, deep and rare, the sound warming the room like sunbreak. By noon, Lydia knocked with sandwiches from Matt's in the market, turkey clubs on sourdough, and they ate at the window, watching ferries slice the bay. "Ever hike the Olympics?" Alex asked, casual but pointed. Jace shook his head. "Grew up in the Willamette Valley, flatlands mostly. Seattle's my wild side." Alex's eyes crinkled. "Wild, huh? Join me this weekend. Elena's Trail. Payback for the locket." It was an invitation laced with ghosts, but Jace nodded, pulse quickening. "Yeah, I'd like that." As he left for his shift, bags slung over shoulder, the locket's weight, now shared, felt less like a burden, more like a bridge. But in the elevator, doubt crept in. Marcus's glares that morning, the way he'd hovered by the coffee station, eyes like daggers. And deeper, the fear of wanting more from Alex than a job. The pull toward a man whose grief might drown them both. That night, in his apartment, Jace texted his old friend from Portland, Sam, the barista who dragged him to his first Pride March. "Met someone. Complicated. Millionaire type." Sam's reply buzzed quick. "Girl or guy?" "Bill." Jace typed guy, deleted it, then sent both. Figuring it out. Milo leaped onto his lap, purring as rain pattered the window, and Jace traced the locket's chain, wondering if healing started with a hike or a fall. Across town, in a Bellevue high-rise, Alex stared at Elena's portrait on his nightstand, her smile soft against the duvet's silk. The locket lay beside it, photo open, Jace's younger self gazing out with eyes that echoed his own hidden youth. He'd come out at 18, A fumbling affair in Stanford dorms cut short by boardroom ambitions. Elena his confidant. Their marriage a pact of mutual cover. Her loss had reopened wounds, but Jace, vulnerable, sharp, alive, stirred something dormant, a longing for touch unscripted by deals. As sleep claimed him, Alex dreamed of trails and boys under Ferris lights, the line between past and present blurring into possibility. The trailhead parking lot was a gravel scar against the Olympic rainforest, ferns unfurling like green flames under a canopy thick as secrets. Jace arrived first, his beat-up Subaru coughing to a stop beside Alex's sleek black Range Rover, the contrast stark as their worlds. He stepped out in hiking boots scuffed from thrift stores, cargo pants, and a flannel over thermal, the locket a cool pulse against his skin. Mist clung to the air, redolent of pine and earth, the kind of scent that promised rebirth if you let it. Jace zipped his jacket, nerves jangling like loose change. This wasn't just a hike. It was Elena's path, the one that had swallowed her whole, and now he was stepping into its echo with the man left behind. Alex pulled up minutes later, emerging like a force of nature in weather-worn Patagonia gear, a pack slung easy over one shoulder, his hair damp from the drive's drizzle. "Harlan," he greeted, a half-smile breaking the formality, extending a thermos of coffee, black, strong, the way Jace took it. Their fingers brushed in the handoff, a spark that lingered, unspoken. "Ready to chase ghosts?" Alex asked, locking the Rover, his voice threaded with that raw edge Jace was starting to recognize as armor cracking. They set off on the unmarked spur, boots crunching mossy needles, the world narrowing to birdsong and the rhythm of breath. Conversation flowed halting at first, buffered by the trail's incline. Jace sharing snippets of valley life, apple orchards and county fairs where dreams felt tangible under harvest moons. "Tommy and I snuck beers behind the hay bales," he said, cheeks warming at the memory. "Thought we were invincible." Alex listened, his strides measured, absorbing like the forest did rain. "Sounds like freedom I never had," he replied, pausing at a viewpoint where the sound glittered far below, fairies like toys. "Grew up in Chicago, Gold Coast trap. Dad's firm expectations like handcuffs. Coded my way out, but freedom? That's rarer than you think." The locket became a talisman between them, Alex pulling it from his collar to show the photo again, thumb tracing the boys' linked arms. She kept this because it reminded her of us before the mergers, the galas. Just two kids figuring it out. His voice dipped, grief surfacing like roots through soil. Jace nodded, the parallel hitting hard. His own closet, Riley's pleas for normalcy before the drugs won. "Loss changes the map," Jace said softly, "but it doesn't erase the paths." Alex's gaze held his, intense, the air charged with mist and something deeper, a pull that made Jace's skin hum. They crested a ridge by midday, unpacking sandwiches on a fallen log, the forest whispering around them. Alex unpacked more than food, stories of Elena, her laugh like wind chimes, her sketches of Seattle's underbelly pinned to their fridge. "We met at a gallery opening in Pioneer Square. She called my bluff on some abstract piece, said it was just squiggles." Laughter rumbled in his chest, genuine, and Jace found himself leaning in, drawn to the warmth beneath the chill. "And you?" "Before the valley." Alex turned the question, eyes curious. Jace hesitated, then spilled. Portland's underground scene, dive bars where drag queens mentored his coming out. The night he kissed a stranger under neon to prove he could. Felt like flying, then crashing. But it stuck. The admission hung, and Alex's hand found his knee, brief, grounding. "Brave," he murmured, the touch lingering a beat too long, electric. Jace's breath caught, heart pounding the way it had under that Ferris wheel, desire and fear tangled. They pressed on, the trail steepening, mud sucking at boots, but the shared silence felt companionable, laced with glances that spoke volumes. By late afternoon, they reached the overlook where Elena vanished. A sheer drop to a creek bed, wildflowers nodding in the breeze. Alex stilled, pack sliding off, face paling as memories crashed. She loved this spot, said it felt infinite. Jace stood beside him, shoulder brushing, the locket glinting between them. She left a piece of that here, he said, nodding to it. In you. In this. Alex turned, eyes stormy, and in a rush that felt predestined, cupped Jace's face, pulling him into a kiss fierce, tasting of salt and need, the forest fading to a roar in Jace's ears. It was release, grief pouring into hunger, hands fisting flannel, bodies aligning like code snapping into place. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the world remade in that instant. But euphoria cracked under reality's boot. As they descended, dusk falling like a shroud, Alex's phone buzzed. Marcus, demanding a meet. Handle it tomorrow? Alex growled, pocketing it. But Jace saw the shadow return, the betrayal festering. Back at the lot, engines idling, Alex's hand lingered on the gearshift. Dinner? My place. Jace nodded, pulse racing. But as he drove away, doubt gnawed. Was this healing, or just another trail leading to loss? Marcus's confrontation came at dawn in Alex's office, the lawyer storming in with coffee breath and bluster. You think it's me? After all Alex cut him off, slamming printouts on the desk, transactions traced to Cayman shells. Marcus deflated, excuses tumbling. Debts to bookies, a mistress in Tacoma bleeding him dry. I fixed it, he lied. But the evidence was ironclad. Alex fired him on the spot, security escorting the man out amid sputtered pleas. Victory tasted ash. Trust shattered left voids no code could fill. And beneath it, the kiss replayed, Jace's taste lingering, a complication Alex craved. Jace, meanwhile, paced his apartment, Milo's judgmental stare following. He texted Sam again. Kissed him. On a mountain. What now? Sam's call came immediate, voice a lifeline through the speaker. You like him, or the thrill? Jace sank to the floor, locket in hand. Both. But he's broken. Sam's laugh was kind. Aren't we all, babe? Jump. You've earned it. Emboldened, Jace showered, scrubbing away trail grit, emerging in jeans and a fresh tee. Nerves electric as he headed to Alex's waterfront condo in Belltown. The space was vast, walls of glass framing the bay's lights, minimalist furniture in teak and leather. Elena's abstracts splashed color across white expanses. Alex greeted him barefoot, wine uncorked, pasta simmering. Simple, domestic, a far cry from boardrooms. They ate on the balcony, city hum below, conversation weaving from code quirks to childhood scars. I was 20 when I first hooked up with a guy, Alex confessed over tiramisu, voice low. Dorm mate. Ended when Dad's checkbook called. Jace shared Tommy's fallout, the ache of unrequited under lights. Vulnerability bridged them, hands entwining across the table. The second kiss slower, exploratory, bodies drawing close on the couch as rain sheeted the windows. Clothes shed in whispers, skin meeting skin, Alex's touch reverent, mapping Jace like lost code. It was tender, urgent, a dam breaking. Moans muffled against shoulders, hips grinding in rhythm with thunder. Afterward, tangled in sheets scented of sea air, Alex traced Jace's spine. Stay. Jace did, heart full. But in the night's quiet, Marcus's shadow loomed, texts pinging Alex's phone with veiled threats. Betrayal's echo, a crisis brewing. Dawn painted Alex's bedroom in watery grays, the bay a restless mirror beyond the glass. Jace stirred first, Alex's arm heavy across his waist, breath warm against his neck. An intimacy that felt stolen, precious. He slipped free gently, padding to the kitchen in boxers, Milo nowhere in sight but the memory of last night vivid. Bodies arching, gasps echoing off high ceilings, the way Alex whispered his name like a prayer. Coffee brewed, dark and bold, and Jace leaned against the counter, locket dangling, pondering the shift, from suspect to lover in a week's blur. Seattle's skyline sharpened as the sun clawed higher, ferries cutting wakes like promises. Alex found him there, hair mussed, wearing only low-slung sweats, the sight stirring heat low in Jace's belly. Morning? Alex murmured, pulling him close for a lazy kiss, stubble rasping. Breakfast was improvised. Eggs scrambled with herbs from the windowsill garden, toast charred just right, eaten at the island, knees brushing. Talk turned practical. The audit, now Jace's official role as lead debugger, salary bump to match. No more scraping by, Alex said, eyes serious. But beneath, the unspoken. Marcus's texts, deleted but not forgotten. A serpent in their Eden. Jace's phone buzzed mid-bite. His landlord, rent due notice. The hike a cruel joke. Ignore it, Alex said, covering his hand. I've got a spare room here. Or the whole place if you want. The offer hung, generous but loaded, and Jace's independence flared. I'm not your charity case, he replied, sharper than intended. Alex's face tightened. Never said you were. Just don't want you fighting alone. Tension crackled, the first rift, mended with a touch, but the seed planted. Work pulled them apart. Alex to a summit in Pioneer Square, Jace to the tower's labs, diving into code with renewed fire. Colleagues nodded respect now, whispers of his save circulating. But Lydia pulled him aside in the break room, her gaze piercing. He's different with you. Lighter, but careful, ghosts bite. She meant Elena, Marcus, the Empire's jaws. Jace nodded, but inside, excitement warred with caution. The locket a reminder of fragile finds. Evening brought them back together at a hole in the wall in Fremont, the kind with mismatched chairs and microbrews on tap. Alex arrived late, tie loosened, recounting a deal sealed over dim sum. Laughter flowed easy, hands linking under the table, but as they walked the canal after, arms slung casual, a figure emerged from shadows. Marcus, disheveled, eyes wild. You ruined me, Voss, he slurred, breath whiskey sour. Alex stiffened, shoving Jace behind him. Walk away, Mark. It's done. But Marcus lunged, fist connecting with Alex's jaw in a sickening crack, blood blooming on his lip. Jace surged forward, tackling Marcus to the gravel, fists flying in a blur of rage. For Riley's memory, for his own near-miss. Security from a nearby bar hauled Marcus off, sirens wailing distant, but the damage lingered. In Alex's bathroom, ice packed to swelling, Jace cleaned the cut, fingers trembling. He knew, Alex said hoarsely, about us, saw us at the trailhead. Betrayal deepened, Marcus's threats now personal. Leaked to a rag in Chicago digging for dirt. They'll paint me the villain, you the gold digger. Jace's heart sank, the tabloid trope hitting too close. Broke kid and snaring the widower. They retreated to the condo, bodies seeking solace, making love fierce and reclaiming. Alex pinning Jace to the rug, thrusts deep and desperate, moans mingling with rain. But crisis brewed. By midnight, Alex's lawyer called, injunctions flying, but the story leaked. Voss airs scandalous fling with coder sidekick. Jace scrolled in the dark, nausea rising, Alex's arm around him a anchor turning chain. We fight it, Alex vowed, but doubt crept, the world's gaze stripping their private joy. Days blurred into damage control, PR spins, Jace auditing from home, Milo his silent sentinel. Alex grew distant, calls clipped, buried in fallout. One night, over takeout foe from a spot in the ID, he confessed, Elena's family, they never liked me. Blamed the marriage for her wild streak. This'll give them ammo. Jace listened, hand on his, but felt the pull of his own ghosts. Tommy's Facebook life popping up unbidden. Kids and a minivan. A reminder of paths not taken. Am I just rebound? Jace asked, voice small. Alex's eyes flashed hurt. No, you're the first real since. Ever. Reconciliation came in vulnerability. Alex sharing Elena's journals, pages filled with sketches of hidden loves. Her own bisexuality a quiet rebellion. She knew I was gay, loved me anyway, said find your truth. Jace read aloud, voice steady, the words weaving them tighter. But Marcus's shadow lengthened. Anonymous emails to Jace, photos of their kiss doctored with sleaze, demands for hush money. Fear coiled, but so did resolve. Jace traced the hacks. finding Marcus's IP in a dingy motel off Aurora. Confrontation brewed at week's end, Alex and Jace staking out the lot, hearts pounding in sync. Marcus emerged, gaunt, spotting them too late. What now? Ruin me more. Desperation cracked his voice. Alex stepped forward, not with fury but pity. Get help, Mark. Rehab, not revenge. Jace added, the emails stop, or jail. Marcus crumpled, nodding defeat, the fight draining like pus from a wound. They drove away, hands clasped over the console, crisis averted but scars fresh. In the afterglow, intimacy deepened. Lazy Sundays in bed, Alex cooking breakfast burritos, Jace debugging on his lap. But emotional undercurrents stirred. Jace's therapy app pings, unpacking Riley's death. Alex joining one night, voice breaking on shared grief. Romance bloomed in margins. Picnics at Gasworks Park, hands feeding each other strawberries, kisses under willow branches. Yet, the Lockett's photo haunted. Tommy's face a specter when Jace caught Alex staring, as if seeing echoes. One evening, scrolling old emails, Jace found it. A thread from Elena to a fair organizer, praising the beautiful boys' shot she'd kept. Attachment, a digital copy, timestamped days before her hike. She planned to return it, Alex said, awed. To you. Fate's twist tightened the knot, love's roots delving deeper. But as autumn leaves turned the parks to fire, Jace felt the climb toward climax. Conflicts not quelled but coiled, waiting to spring. Autumn's chill seeped into Seattle's bones, leaves carpeting the sidewalks in crimson and gold, crunching underfoot like brittle promises. Jace and Alex had carved a rhythm in the weeks since Marcus's takedown. Mornings tangled in sheets, evenings walking the locks at Ballard, watching salmon leap against the current, symbols of persistence that mirrored their own. The audit wrapped clean, Voss dynamics fortified, and Jace's bank account swelled enough for rent paid in full. A small victory celebrated with champagne on Alex's balcony, bubbles fizzing like laughter. But beneath the domestic hum, fissures widened, emotional landmines buried in the soil of their haste. It started with a call from Boise. Tommy, voice tentative over crackling line, found via a mutual friend from the fair days. Saw your name in some tech rag. Millionaire boyfriend. Huh? Fancy. The words landed like stones, dredging silt. Jace met him for coffee on a layover, neutral ground at SeaTac's sterile cafe. The locket hidden but heavy. Tommy looked older, lines etched by suburbia, wedding band glinting. Regret it sometimes, he admitted, eyes on his latte foam. The choice. You were. Real. Jace's chest ached, old wounds reopening. But he left with closure. A nod to paths diverged, texting Alex on the drive home. Saw a ghost. All good. Alex waited with takeout from a soul food spot in the Central District, greens and cornbread steaming. But his eyes searched Jace's face, jealousy flickering unbidden. Tell me, he said over dinner. Fork paused. Jace did, sparing nothing. The kiss under lights, the rejection sting. Alex listened, jaw tight, then pulled him close. He was a boy. I'm here. Lovemaking followed, possessive, Alex's hands claiming every inch. But the seed of doubt sprouted, whispers of inadequacy in quiet moments. Work pressures mounted. Alex jetting to Silicon Valley for investor meets, Jace holding the fort, but emails piled. Elena's family, the Harringtons from Boston, demanding a sit-down. They think you're a phase, Alex confessed upon return, exhaustion carving hollows under his eyes. Blame me for her, now you. The dinner in their waterfront dining room was tense, crystal clinking like judgments. But Jace held firm, voice steady. Love isn't a ledger. Alex's gratitude was a fierce kiss, but the family's shadow loomed, betrayal's kin. Crisis crested mid-month. A leaked audio Marcus, spiteful from rehab, spilling to a podcaster. Alex's deviant past, Elena's convenience marriage, Jace the opportunist thief. It hit the feeds like shrapnel, headlines screaming from the stranger to national wires. Jace woke to his phone exploding. Sam's worried texts, old colleagues' side eyes, His landlord's curt note hiking rent again. Image concerns. At the tower, stares followed him, whispers like knives. Alex barricaded in meetings, but found Jace in the server room, head in hands. "It's poison," Jace said, voice breaking. "I'm poison." Alex pulled him up, into the empty conference suite, doors locked. "No, they're scared of what we have." But doubt infected, arguments flaring. Jace accusing Alex of using him as distraction. Alex snapping back about trust. "You think I don't see you pulling away? Like Tommy?" The name slipped, a barb, and Jace recoiled, storming out into the rain-lashed streets. Cab to his apartment a blur. Alone, Milo curling close, he wept for Riley, for Elena's unseen joys, for the boy in the photo who'd believed in forever. Reconciliation came halting. Alex at his door by midnight, soaked, eyes red-rimmed. "I was wrong. Scared." They talked on the threadbare couch, raw and unfiltered. Alex admitting his closet scars, the fear of losing another to judgment. Jace unpacking the gold digger trope's truth, poverty's grind making love feel transactional. Dawn found them entwined, forgiveness a slow burn, bodies healing what words couldn't. But the leaks' fallout rippled. Sponsors pulling from Voss events, Harringtons suing for defamation, claiming Elena's memory tarnished. Jace dove into counterhack, tracing the audio to Marcus's burner, evidence stacking for charges. Alex handled the PR, a joint interview at a queer youth center in Capitol Hill, voices steady on camera. "Love defies labels. We're building, not breaking." The piece aired soft, humanizing, but emotional toll mounted. Nights of insomnia. Alex pacing balconies, Jace sketching code like therapy. Romance persisted in stolen moments. A weekend in the San Juans, cabin by the sea, waves crashing as they made love on driftwood floors, salt on skin. Yet, betrayal's echo resounded when Elena's sister, Vivian, arrived unannounced, a willowy redhead in pearls, eyes like chipped ice. "She left letters," she said over tea in Alex's living room, envelope trembling in hand. "For if she didn't come back." Alex read first, paling, then passed it to Jace. Elena's words, forgiving Alex's truths, urging him to love without chains. And a note to the boy in the photo, Jace, thanking him for a captured joy she'd cherished. Tears fell, catharsis flooding, but Vivian's gaze hardened. It's disrespect. She left with ultimatums, family fracturing further. Crisis peaked at a gala in the Museum of Flight, tuxedos and champagne masking tensions. Alex and Jace arrived arm in arm, a statement, but Vivian cornered them by a vintage jet, whispers venomous. "He's using you to forget her." Doubt stabbed, Jace fleeing to the restroom, splashing water, locket clutched. Alex followed, finding him there, vulnerable. "She's wrong. You're mine now." The kiss in that tiled echo was desperate, reaffirming. But as they emerged, flashes popped. Paparazzi tipped off, headlines brewing anew. Healing's path twisted, Jace proposing they hike Elena's trail again, reclaiming it. Under drizzling skies, hands linked, they scattered wildflower seeds at the overlook, vows whispered to wind, to endure, to choose each other. Intimacy that night was gentle, exploratory. Fingers tracing tattoos, breaths sinking like waves. But as winter loomed, conflicts unresolved simmered. The journey far from over, hearts tested in the forge of public fire. Winter clamped Seattle in its fist, gray skies bleeding into nights lit by holiday strings along the avenues. But joy felt distant for Jace and Alex, their bond aflame flickering against gales. The gala photos had ignited a media storm, Voss's lavish affair. Widow's shadow looms over new flame, tabloids dredging Elena's tragic end, painting Jace as interloper. Protests brewed outside the tower, pickets from conservative groups waving signs of traditional values. Vivian's influence fanning flames. Alex insulated them in the condo, takeout feasts and movie marathons. Broke back one night, laughter turning to tears, bodies seeking warmth in the cocoon of down comforters. But isolation bred cracks. Jace chafed at the gilded cage, his freelance contacts drying up under scrutiny, days blurring into code reviews haunted by doubt. "Am I enough?" he asked one evening, curled on the couch, Milo's head in his lap, fairy lights twinkling mockingly. Alex knelt before him, hands on knees. "More than, but this world's cruel." He shared his own crisis, bored whispers of instability, shares dipping, the empire teetering on personal scandal. Vulnerability bonded them, confessions over mulled wine. Alex's first heartbreak in Chicago, a lover lost to family pressure. Jace's nights after Riley, bars as black holes swallowing grief. Betrayal struck sharp mid-December, Vivian leaking Elena's full journals to a Boston rag. Pages of her loneliness in the marriage, hints of Alex's distractions, twisted to vilify. Jace read online, gut-churning, words like "he loves the idea," not the man, echoing his fears. Confrontation exploded at dinner, plates shattering. Jace accusing complicity, Alex defending Elena's complexities. "She was my friend," he roared, voice breaking. Jace stormed out into sleep, trudging to his old apartment, key still under the mat, collapsing amid dust and memories. Milo had stayed with Alex, a small abandonment that stung. Days passed in radio silence, Jace crashing at Sam's in Queen and shifts at a temp coding gig, nights nursing IPAs at local dives, the locket his only constant. Sam dragged him to a holiday market in the market, mulled cider warming palms, but joy eluded, eyes scanning crowds for Alex's silhouette. A text came: "Christmas Eve balcony. Please." Jace went, heart hammering, finding Alex in scarf and coat, tree lights haloing him, a box wrapped simple in his hands. Inside, a custom laptop, sleek, engraved with coordinates of their first hike, and a letter, Elena's script copied, "Find your infinite." Alex's voice trembled reading it. "I pushed you away to protect us, but you're my infinite." Forgiveness crashed like waves, tears freezing on cheeks, the kiss salted and fierce. They made up in the snow-dusted balcony, hands fumbling coats, bodies pressing urgent against glass, steam fogging the view. Back inside, under the tree's glow, lovemaking slow and redemptive, whispers of stay, hips rolling like tides. New Year's brought resolve, but crisis escalated. Marcus, out on bail, docs Jace's address, hate mail flooding the old P.O. box, slurs scrawled in bile, threats veiled in scripture. Police involved, but fear rooted deep, Jace's sleep fractured by nightmares of trails and empty backpacks. Alex hired security, but the invasion chafed Jace's spirit. "I can't live shadowed," he said over breakfast, bagel crumbs scattering like resolve. They compromised, a move to a gated spot in Magnolia, views of the Sound, space for Milo to prowl gardens. Healing threaded through turmoil. Therapy together. A queer-affirming counselor in Belltown unpacking closets and grief. Sessions unearthed gold. Alex admitting Elena's vanishing as suicide's shadow, unspoken depression. Jace voicing Riley's addiction as inherited shame. Bonds strengthened, romance rekindled in quiet rituals. Morning runs along the bluff, hands brushing. Evenings cooking paella, spices filling air with promise. Intimacy evolved, exploratory. Alex blindfolding Jace one night, feathers and ice tracing skin, trust a bridge over abysses. But climax loomed with Vivian's summons. A family summit in Boston, Elena's estate in probate, accusations flying. They flew east, nerves taut, Logan Airport's bustle a prelude to judgment. The Harrington brownstone on Beacon Hill was a mausoleum of mahogany and portraits, Vivian presiding like a dowager queen. "You've mocked her memory," she accused over tea, journals thumped on lace doilies. Alex countered calm, passing Elena's letter to Jace, voice steady. "She blessed this." Vivian read, faltering, tears cracking facade. "She was lost too," she whispered, hugging Alex fierce, the room exhaling. Return flight was cathartic, hands clasped over clouds, but Seattle greeted with fresh betrayal. Board coup, whispers of ousting Alex for distractions. Loyalists rallied, Jace at forefront, Code exposing fiscal tricks. Exec skimming Marcus's allies. Showdown in the boardroom. Alex commanding the head. Jace at side. Evidence projected like spotlights. Resignations tumbled. Empire steadied. But toll exacted. Alex collapsing post-meet. Exhaustion's grip. Jace nursing him through fevered nights. Broth and stories of Valley Springs. As spring teased buds along the cherry trees, journey shifted to healing's core. A road trip south, tracing Elena's backpack routes, scattering ashes Alex had kept. In Oregon's coast, under sea stacks, they renewed vows. No rings, just words etched in sand. Through storms we choose, lovemaking on blanket under stars, waves serenading, bodies a testament to survival. Back home, Jace proposed expansion, mentoring queer coders, Alex funding a nonprofit, legacy from loss. Yet, emotional undercurrents swirled. Jace's call from Tommy, final goodbye, closure's gift. Alex watched him hang up, pride softening gaze. Their love, tested in fire, emerged tempered, ready for whatever horizon beckoned. Spring unfolded Seattle like a long-held breath, cherry blossoms carpeting the U district in pink confetti, the air alive with the hum of renewal. Jace and Alex had weathered winter's siege, their bond forged stronger in the crucible of scandals and secrets, but the scars lingered, faint lines on skin and soul, reminders that love's path was rarely linear. The nonprofit launch, Prism Code, filled a warehouse loft in Soto with eager faces. Young queer techies from fringes, laptops glowing under strung bulbs, Jace leading workshops on ethical hacks, Alex guesting with tales of building without breaking. Laughter echoed off exposed beams, a symphony of possibility, and in stolen glances across the room, their eyes met with the quiet fire of survivors. Evenings found them in the Magnolia Garden, Milo batting at fireflies, dinners grilled on the deck, steaks rare, salads crisp with farmers' market greens. Conversation meandered from code breakthroughs to dreams deferred. Jace musing a novel, pixels of his life woven into prose. Alex confessing a vineyard in Walla Walla, grapes ripening like second chances. Intimacy had deepened, no longer frantic but exploratory. Lazy Sundays mapping each other's bodies with fingertips and tongues, breaths sinking in the hush of afternoon light slanting through blinds. The locket, now shared, hung on a hook by the bed, photo a talisman of origins reclaimed. But Crisis's embers glowed, unextinguished. Vivian's olive branch came in May, a letter postmarked Boston, enclosing Elena's final sketch. Two figures on a trail, one reaching for the other, captioned, Infinite. With it, estate papers settled, a bequest to Prism in Elena's name. Alex read aloud in the garden, voice thick, tears tracing jaw. She saw us, he said, pulling Jace close, the kiss blooming slow, petals of forgiveness. Yet, Marcus's trial loomed, subpoena pulling them to courthouse in Kent, testimonies raw. Alex detailing betrayal's cut, Jace recounting doxing's terror. Verdict. Guilty, sentence light but justice served. A chapter closed with handshakes and hollow relief. Emotional undercurrents crested unexpectedly. Jace's nightmare, waking sweat-soaked, Riley's face morphing to Elena's on the trail. Alex held him through it, rocking gentle, but dawn brought confession. I fear I'll vanish too, in your world. Alex's response was action. A sabbatical, bored yielding to his plea for balance. They escaped to Montana's plains, a cabin near Bozeman, skies vast as uncharted code. Days blurred in hikes through Yellowstone's geothermal wonders, geysers erupting like catharsis. Nights around campfires roasting marshmallows, stories spilling like sparks. There, romance reignited primal, bodies slick under starlight, earth cool beneath. Alex's weight a grounding force, thrusts sinking with cricket choruses. Vulnerability peaked one evening, journals traded. Alex's boyhood diaries of hidden crushes, Jace's poetry from Portland nights. You healed me? Alex whispered, fingers laced. Jace smiled, hazel eyes reflecting flames. We healed each other. Betrayal's ghost visited in a storm, thunder cracking like Marcus's fist. But they weathered it entwined, lightning illuminating truths. Love is choice, daily renewed. Return brought climax's resolution. A surprise at Prism's first gala, rooftop under Olympics glow, string lights twinkling. Jace took the mic, voice steady. From a found locket to found family, this is for the unseen. Alex joined him, dropping to knee, ring simple platinum, engraved with fair coordinates. Marry me, not the empire, just us. Gasps rippled, cheers erupting. Jace's yes a breath released, kiss sealing amid applause. Vivian attended, tearful toast, to Elena's infinite. Healing's arc curved toward humanism's core. Wedding small in the Olympics, trails overlook reclaimed, vows exchanged with wildflowers and witnesses. Sam, Lydia, a circle of Prism kids. No tuxes, just khakis and flannels. Rings exchanged under canopy. The locket open between them. Reception at a seaside inn in Port Townsend. Fiddles and feasts. Dances barefoot on sand. Lovemaking that night was sacred, slow, reverent. Bodies a liturgy of touch. Cries muffled in pillows scented of salt. Months later, life settled into rhythm. Jace publishing his novel, Keepsake Code. A tale of trails and truths. Bestseller in indie circles. Alex tending vines part-time. Bottles labeled Voss Harlan Reserve. Conflicts faded to lessons. Doubts voiced early. Grief honored in annual hikes. Elena's sketch framed by the bed. They mentored, traveled, New Orleans jazz, Vermont leaves. Love expanding, not confining. In quiet moments, Jace traced Alex's laugh lines, marveling at the man who'd checked a bag and found a heart. Alex, in turn, watched Jace code, fingers flying, pride swelling for the boy who'd carried light through dark. Their story, dramatic in arcs, emotional in depths, romantic in glances, humanistic in grace. Proof that from theft and loss, redemption blooms, infinite as the sound's horizon.